For my service learning project, I chose to do volunteering with Special Olympics Minnesota. To tie in a couple of topics from the book, I want to talk about my overall experience. Cultural shock didn't actually affect me as much as I thought it would because I work in a setting that supports people with disabilities. I actually knew some of the athletes, parents, and even a couple of the coaches there. So I felt very comfortable in the environment and I knew the role I was going to play. Diversity is one thing that really stood out to me with Special Olympics because a lot of the athletes are completely different in the disabilities that they have and how they needed to be treated. Some were in a wheelchair, while others are young, older, or even just need that more one-on-one attention to help better serve them. One of the stereotypes I had coming into Special Olympics is that I thought it would just kind of be this fun, easy volunteer work, but it was actually very focused on bettering the athletes, and it was impressive to see them work so hard in that setting. I got involved with the Special Olympics Minnesota by contacting the organization with their volunteer coordinator, and he set me up with one of the main coaches of Special Olympics, Wayne Brendamule, and he helped me go through a level 1 training that went through basically their code of ethics and all of the other basics of what you need to know of how to work with the athletes and the organization. From there, I had to take a quiz, and then I chose to attend basketball practices to help volunteer. The main purpose of Special Olympics is to serve individuals with intellectual, physical, and developmental disabilities. Those that were involved in the organization were coaches, parents, volunteers as myself, and direct support professionals to help some of those athletes more closely. I would describe the culture at Special Olympics to be positive, friendly, and optimistic. It really didn't matter how your day was going, you just really wanted to step in with that positive attitude to help the athletes have a good time, as well as you just to be there and enjoy yourself. I'd say it's very friendly because I felt welcome the second I stepped in that auditorium to help them with practices. I got to introduce myself and build some relationships with a lot of the athletes there, and I'm excited to hopefully see them again in the future. I included optimistic because it really didn't matter what disability the athletes had. It was very tailored to helping them be successful and accomplish their goals, whether it was one-on-one time or just a little bit of a slower process and walking them through everything a couple times. We really worked with the client or with the athletes really well, and it was awesome to see that. My duties as a volunteer included attending basketball practices on Sunday from 1 to 3. This was a very polychromatic environment, meaning that it wasn't very strict on time. We didn't necessarily always start at 1 o'clock, and it was very flexible of when we ended practices as well. So I attended 5 practices there, and when I was there, I helped cheer on, guide and direct, and score and lead the athletes. These are some of the individual skills that I helped work on with the athletes, like the dribbling skills, basket shooting, and passing. Each of these were actually scored for each of the athletes and how they would be placed in the local competition. A few of the challenges that I had while working with Special Olympics included, did I have the right skills to be a good volunteer? Communication with a few of the athletes, such as miscommunication with nonverbal athletes, and appropriate behavior with athletes. Proximetics were important when considering this. I was able to overcome all of these challenges by the help of good coaches, parents, and other volunteers that were willing to help and direct me in being more comfortable in the environment and how to work with the athletes the best that I could. Overall, learning and observing over time for myself was also very helpful. One of the challenges that I faced was communication with some of the athletes. That were nonverbal or just couldn't communicate very clearly. It was difficult, but I learned that the most important thing to consider was the setting and context of which the communication was taking place. One of the athletes, Tina, she was a nonverbal, and sometimes she would run away. It was difficult to tell if she was running away in excitement, fear, or anger. Overall, the biggest challenges for me were that communication barrier between athlete and volunteer, and just learning how to talk to them and communicate with them effectively. And then learning the game of basketball. Like I had mentioned, I actually haven't played basketball before, so I was kind of nervous in what kind of role I would play as a volunteer. But like I said, the coaches and volunteers that were there were really helpful in teaching me and helping me get along. For me, the entire experience with working with Special Olympics was extremely rewarding. I got to meet some incredible athletes, and they really just put a smile on my face, and it was fun to see the pictures of them from their state competition and the memories that I got to make with some of the coaches and other volunteers are something I really appreciated throughout this entire process.